Alright, for this video, I want to go through a sample Alabama employee withholding certificate. This is the Alabama Form A4, and we're going to be completing it for a single filing taxpayer here that's a full-time resident, lives and works in Alabama, and we have a copy of his 2023 return from the prior year. So when we look at the withholding certificate, it's pretty straightforward, right? So part one, we're just completing information on the employee. So we have John's full name, his social security number, and his mailing address in the state. And then when we move on to the withholding exemptions, this can be relatively straightforward, or you could have a more complicated form if you want to adjust the withholding. So on line one, it's asking that if we plan to claim no personal exemption for ourselves and we wish to withhold at the highest rate, you can write 0 on line 1 and then skip the rest of this and just go ahead and sign it, date it, and send it to your employer. However, in our case, we are claiming a personal exemption. So Alabama, the personal exemptions, if we look at what was claimed for 2023, we can see the filing status. We claimed a $1,500 exemption as a single filing taxpayer, and that personal exemption is reported down here as a deduction on line 13. And so for the 2024 year, we anticipate doing the same. So we are entering as an S as a single filing taxpayer, which means we get a $1,500 personal exemption. And we can skip line 3 because we are not married, and he doesn't anticipate filing as single, claiming head of household. So they call it head of family in Alabama, but head of household, similar filing status that you would see at the federal level. On number of dependents, he doesn't have any dependents, so he's just entered 0 there. And the additional amount, if any, you want deducted. So you would enter an amount here if you want more state income tax withheld from your paychecks than the standard withholding rate. So why would you ever want to do that? Well, if we look at his Alabama return for last year, what we see here is the total Alabama, so that's state income tax that is owed, was $2,203. Now, he had $2,500 of withholding last year, so we actually got a state tax refund of $297. If, for some reason, the state withholding wasn't sufficient to cover the tax, so let's say he had a lot of investment income up here on line 6 and 7, and he wanted some more taxes withheld to cover that liability, then maybe he can adjust his A4 to add some additional withholding from his paycheck. But if you don't want to add any additional amounts, that's fine. Go ahead and just leave that 0 or blank. And then so line 6 is something that's completed by the employer. On the employee's signature line here, you would sign this, date this, and send it to your employer, and then they would complete the rest of the form, part 2. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. Any questions, feel free to leave a comment below. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thank you.